This is a review of the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Picard's second... No, wait. It's a review of the first 4 episodes. My mistake. There's only enough story here for 2 episodes. That must be where I got confused. This, for real now, is a review of the first 4 episodes of Star Trek Picard's second season. I'm reviewing the first 4 episodes all at once because the season started while Star Trek Discovery's 4th season was still ongoing, and I didn't have time to write and shoot episode reviews for both shows, even half-assed reviews like this one. So, this is a collective review. Hey, Borg jokes. Love those. Love those Borg. To catch up with what I missed. Also, the first 3 episodes should have been 1 episode anyway, so it makes more sense to review them together. Hey, one more important note going forward. These episode reviews will not be spoiler-free. Of course, a few of you complained that the Discovery episode reviews weren't as spoiler-free as I said they were already, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, while I won't be doing a synopsis of the plots of these shows, and I won't be giving everything away, there will be times when, in order to discuss something I have strong feelings about, I will tread into spoiler territory. I'll try not to give away any big shocking twists, but I will talk about stuff that happens in the episodes. So if you haven't watched these episodes yet, and you want to go in totally fresh, maybe wait and watch my Picard episode reviews after you've watched the Picard episodes I'm reviewing. Cool? Cool. So, right now, as of episode 4, the thing about the show that I have the strongest feelings about is the fact that I really don't have strong feelings about any of it. I wouldn't say it's been bad exactly, at least not most of it. But I also wouldn't say that any of it has been especially good. It's just kind of there. And I'm starting to feel like I'm watching it out of habit more than interest. But before I get into more detail on that, let me talk about the things in these first 4 episodes that have worked for me. In the first episode of the season, The Stargazer, we catch up with our characters after some time has passed following the end of the first season. I like there being a time gap between seasons. It was something I really appreciated about the start of the 4th season of Discovery as well. It seems like a little thing, but it gives the writers a chance to move some stuff around, to reset a few things, and it gives us in the audience the impression that life does go on for these characters beyond what we see in the show. It makes it feel more real. The characters from Picard Season 1 have all gone their separate ways. Picard and Raffi are back in Starfleet. Picard in charge of Starfleet Academy. Elnor is a Starfleet cadet. Captain Rios is also back in Starfleet and in command of the new USS Stargazer, which is cool. The Federation has lifted the ban on synthetic life forms, and Soji and Dr. Girardi are on a goodwill tour to remind everyone that robots are people too. Seven is in charge of La Serena and is back doing Fenris Ranger shit. And then there's a crisis that brings everybody back together. Some wacky Star Trek stuff happens that changes the timeline, with our heroes being the only ones who notice anything is different, and they have to figure out what went wrong and how to put it right. That's a pretty good setup for the first episode. Unfortunately, that's actually the entire first episode. The second episode, Penance, has Picard and the others finding their way back to each other in this altered timeline. Picard has a little help from Q, who shows up at the tail end of the first episode and functions as kind of half tour guide, half cryptic doomsayer, and just generally doesn't quite seem like himself. They spend most of the episode fucking around in this new reality, which is a totalitarian dystopia, like the Mirror Universe, but not. And then, finally, all the main characters, except Soji, who is curiously absent, figure out, with some help from the Borg Queen, who is being kept in cold storage, that they need to go back to the 21st century and prevent whatever happened back then to change the timeline. They're just about to do that when they get caught by bad guys, and that's the entire second episode. The third episode, Assimilation, begins with what should have been the end of the first episode, with the gang aboard La Sirena time warping back to the 21st century, which is where the change in the timeline supposedly takes place. Pretty soon the characters get separated again, and they spend the rest of that episode and the fourth episode, the Watcher, fucking around some more, getting into trouble, which they then have to get out of, and accomplishing very little, especially given how much time it takes them to do it. Oh, and by the way, those were the only things that have really worked for me so far. The time gap between seasons, and also the new Stargazer looks cool. That's it. As Mike Birbiglia might say, I know. I know some of you got sick of hearing me complain about the pacing in my last few Discovery reviews. The pacing is an even bigger problem in these 4 episodes of Picard, but there's another problem too, so I'll spend more time talking about that and just say very briefly that the pacing of these first 4 episodes is for shit. The first 2 episodes, along with the first act of the third episode, should have been 1 episode. Everything drags. We're spending way too long on way too little. This was also a problem with season 1 of Picard, where the first 3 episodes should have been 1 episode. This season, the first, 2.25 episodes should have been 1 episode? So, progress, I guess. Anyway, the other problem I have kicks in once our heroes reach the 21st century and continues for the rest of episode 3 and into episode 4. And that problem is everybody's really motivated to do something, but nobody knows what they're supposed to do or has any idea how they're going to do it. They know they need to prevent something from happening soon, and they know there's a person in this century called a Watcher who can help them somehow. And they know whatever it is that happens in Los Angeles. But other than that, they have nothing. Something happens after they land the ship that leaves Raffi really super motivated to go out there and do something, which is great. But there's not really anything for her to do. So we get Raffi, Seven, and Rios beaming into LA with this half-baked plan to find the tallest building and scan for technology using a tricorder, which, as motivations go, is threadbare at best. Meanwhile, Picard and Jurati are on La Sirena with the Borg Queen, trying to find out more of what she knows about their situation by doing an acting exercise, which I like in concept. It's a more interesting choice than just doing some special effects thing or visualizing it by showing us Jurati wandering down a hallway with lots of doors or something. But again, suffers because it's not clear what Jurati is doing or why she's doing it, except in the most general sense. And you might say, well, the reason the characters don't have specific goals or plans is because they're fish out of water and they don't understand the situation. So how could they have concrete goals? Fair enough. But I don't object to the lack of clear goals for their sakes so much as for mine as an audience member. When characters have simple, easy-to-understand goals, it allows the audience to form expectations, either consciously or unconsciously. We make assumptions about what is going to happen next, based on what the characters want or need to do. Then, the story can move forward by either meeting or subverting those expectations, by introducing obstacles between the characters and their goals, by having the characters realize the goal they thought they were pursuing isn't the goal they should be pursuing. There's all sorts of things a writer can do once those expectations are in place. We're 4 episodes in to a 10-episode season, and those expectations are still not in place. At the end of episode 4, Picard finally meets the Watcher. We still don't know who the Watcher actually is or what their purpose is. They're just a person Picard had to find who is important for some reason. In fact, that describes pretty much every goal the characters have had so far in the story. They need to find something that is important for some reason. They need to stop something from happening sometime soon. There's someone out there who can help them somehow. Nothing concrete, which makes it very hard to to get invested in any of this. And you might say, but Steve, isn't that the exact situation Captain Kirk and Spock find themselves in when they arrive in 1930s New York City, in the city on the edge of forever? They know McCoy has done something to change history, but they don't know exactly what or exactly when. They are kind of aimless at first. True. But remember that very soon after they arrive, Spock tells Kirk that all the information they need is locked inside his tricorder, if only he can repair it so they can access the information. That's a concrete goal. Then, by the end of the episode's second act, Spock has figured out that Edith Keeler is the key figure. Then, by the end of the third act, they've learned that in order to set things right, Edith Keeler must die. Goals and expectations. Specific. Concrete. Not something, somewhere, sometime, for some reason. Also, The City on the Edge of Forever is one episode. One episode with a plot that's incredibly similar to what seems to be the plot for this entire 10-episode season. I'm just saying. This brings up another issue I've had with the show so far, which is how familiar so much of this seems. True, there's nothing new under the sun, and true, Star Trek does love to repeat itself. Some of the better episodes of Discovery's just completed fourth season featured bits that harkened back to episodes of past Trek shows. But when Discovery employed familiar tropes or evoked classic episodes, it approached them from a different angle, told stories that were reminiscent of those older episodes, but also brought in enough new stuff to work on their own. This season of Picard doesn't feel like that. It feels like the writers said, let's shmush City on the Edge of Forever and Star Trek IV together, toss in a pinch of Mirror, Mirror, and call it a day. It doesn't feel like an homage. It doesn't feel like a new spin on an old story or a fresh take on some well-worn tropes. It feels like we've seen all of this before. The timeline has been changed again. The characters are trapped in a warped, totalitarian version of the world they know. Again. The heroes have to travel back in time to set things right. Again. They find themselves fish out of water in a contemporary setting. Again. And the writers seem to have had nothing new or original or creative to say about any of this. There's even a bit in episode 4 with Seven and Raffi on a bus that is a direct lift from Star Trek IV. And that's the only joke. Hey, remember that thing that happened to Kirk and Spock on the bus in Star Trek IV? Now the exact same thing is happening to Seven and Raffi. It's a reference in place of a joke. It's a lazy, witless fan service gag that feels like it belongs on Lower Decks. And I know a lot of you love Lower Decks, but coming from me, that is not a compliment. I'm honestly surprised and disappointed that bit somehow made it into the show. If I'd seen it in a script, I would have printed out just that page so I could set it on fire. I'm sorry to come across so negative in this review. I want to like this show. I like the cast. I like the characters, but so far, this story is just not doing it for me. We're almost halfway through this season, and the characters have traveled who knows how many light years across space and centuries back in time, and yet it feels like we haven't gone anywhere yet, except a few places we've already been in other better shows. Hopefully better things are to come in the rest of the season. That's my review for episodes 1 through 4 of Star Trek Picard. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you want to support my channel, go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron, or click the join button to become a member. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for a review of episode 5.